everyone. Welcome back to Outpost Gray, a YouTube channel that is in partnership with Grant Thornton. I want to remind you all that the content created on this channel is my unique thoughts and opinions, and it is not the representation of Grant Thornton's thoughts or opinions. Every Thursday on Outpost Gray, I come to you live to provide you information in technology, innovation, and cybersecurity. And I do that through fireside chats, one-on-one interviews, and highlight series, just like we're doing today. I'm your host, Jack Scott, and today I am having the amazing opportunity to highlight another amazing woman in the technology and the innovation space as part of the Outpost Gray highlight series, The Female Voice of Innovation and Technology. And our guest today is Alissa Knight. And I'm not going to go deeply into her resume because I actually want her to talk a little bit about what she's done. But Alissa is a 20-year recovering hacker. She is a producer. She is an author. And I'm telling you, the titles in her list of titles goes on and on. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bring on the guest. Alissa, welcome to the show.
What's up, girl? What's going on?
I am loving this.
I was looking like you're like, oh, Alissa, I love your sound. I'm thinking like, if only you could see outside of frame because my desk is super messy where you guys can't see it. No.
I do the same thing. If you saw, like, I have like 5 laptops like right over here in this general area.
Oh man.
But this looks great. This part of my house is immaculate.
All the messes over here, right? Like out of frame.
Freaking so funny. It is so, I'm so thrilled to have you on here. We have connected a few times. We were going to actually have you as a guest on 2 Cyber Chicks, and you had injured yourself, but it looks like you're doing well. You injured yourself on set, which we're going to talk about.
That was scary. Yeah, we could talk about that for sure.
So before we kick it off, because I know we've already got the chat is already blowing up. You've got a lot of fans in here. Woo-hoo! Can you share a little bit about yourself and your background?
Oh my God. Okay. I kind of feel like I'm at that point at like being Julia Roberts where I don't have to introduce. No, I'm just kidding. No, if you don't know who I am, shame on you. No. Okay. So actually, I'll correct you. It's 22 years now. Those 2 years make a difference.
Yes, they do.
This is hair color. I'm really a lot older than I look. Okay. Recovering hacker of 22 years. I agree with you, Jax. It's almost like I have to figure out how to summarize my experience because anyone who gives my bio, it's like we need an entire show just to introduce me. And then next week's show is the actual interview. No, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started and sold multiple companies to public companies since I was 20. I'm in the middle of my 3rd exit. I'm a published author. I do a lot of vulnerability research, specifically more recently in hacking APIs, published a new book on hacking connected cars. I'm now in the process of writing a new book on hacking APIs. I'm a filmmaker, director, executive producer for Knight Studios. My wife and I own a family of companies under Knight Group, which owns Knight Inc., Knight Studios, Knight Publishing, Breyer and Thorne. So we own a family of companies, including Knight Capital. And so doing a lot of really cool stuff with my partner in crime, my wife and best friend. And just I don't know, like I feel like this is like, you know, the relaxing year, even though I'm doing a lot, like you're like, oh my God, Alissa, how can you say that? But like I feel like these are kind of like almost kind of like I'm just retired now. I'm just kind of having fun, you know.
So. You do a lot. I don't know how you feel retired with everything that you do.
Yeah, redefining retirement. Yeah, it's just like, to me, it doesn't have to be fishing on the side of a lake, you know? I mean, technically, so I retired when I was 27 when I sold my last company and then became a fashion photographer. Long story, very few people know this. Shot for White House Black Market, for those of you ladies who know that store, and did a photo shoot for Jigsaw London and the California Redwoods. So got really big into fashion photography, like really big into couture and high fashion. And then went to go work for the U.S. intelligence community, took up 2 contracts supporting counterinsurgency operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. Just traded my keyboard in for an M4, first woman to go through private SEER training, close quarter combat, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. So they actually threw a hoodie, a bag over my head, kidnapped me, electrocuted me with a car battery in order to get intel out of me, and waterboarded me. So it was a different experience in my life. It was a different chapter, but I'm working on that autobiography, I promise.
That's going to be, I can't wait to read that. Waterboarding is terrible.
That's probably another show. And it's
SEER training as a whole is another show. I remember one time I was in my unit and one of the team guys walked over to me and it was like one of the next levels up from the basic SEER. Like you can get harder SEERs. There's like 4 levels of SEER. Why would you do that? So they were like, hey, do you want to go to this SEER level? And I just remember standing there and I'm like, is it easier than the last SEER? And they're like, no, it's more intense. And I'm like, why would they do that?
It's interesting because, I was thinking, oh, well, I'm going to private SEER training operated by, if you remember the Blackwater days, USTC and Trojan Securities. And so I was a defense contractor, private military, and the triple canopy years and stuff like that. But I was thinking, this probably isn't going to be as hard, because it's not buds. It's not buds, And so, and then I go there and there's like Navy SEALs, there's like special operations operators there. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was talking, I'm like, what are you guys doing here? You guys have, at your active duty, you guys have like real SEER training you go to, and they're like, oh, no. For the good stuff, the military sends us to private SEER. I was like, what? So apparently, I guess there's like the better training that the U.S. military leverages are places like USTC and privatized training is where a lot of active duty soldiers go for that next level. So it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's awesome that you went through it. It's one of those things where you go through it and you're like, well, I guess if I ever am like a prisoner of war, missing in action, these will be great skills. But outside of that, and once you're out of the military, you're like, well, and you can survive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it was like, all right, so I'll tell you this one story and we'll digress. But like we started loading up. So we were doing this live fire exercise and we started loading up our AR-15s and stuff and M4s with simunition. I don't know if you've ever been shot with simunition, but for those of you who don't know what simunition is, it's basically keep me honest here, Jax, but it's basically live rounds, but instead of gunpowder, or no, there's gunpowder in it, but instead of the actual bullet, it's paint. So you're being shot with a live round, but there's paint in the head of the bullet. And so it was like, as soon as I got shot with one, I was like, nope. I was like,
so painful.
This hurts. It hurts. So for those of you who don't know what simunition is, be glad you don't, because it does not feel good. It's worse than being shot with a pellet. Like it hurts.
And it's because of the what are they called? The machine that blows the air out of the gun. I cannot remember. Not VO. I want to say VO2, but that's not it. But that, and then so people are thinking paintball. I always try to tell people that have paintballed, think of paintballs that have been frozen in the freezer, and then those are getting shot at you at a faster speed.
You nailed it. Yeah, you nailed it.
So painful.
That's exactly what it is. It's it's almost like
they don't blow up. Yeah,
I'm still going to a lot of expensive therapy from those days. But anyway.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. That's so awesome. So so we've done photography, you've gone to SEER training, and now where you're at today. I mean, you Are you ADHD? Is that why you take on? Because I'm ADHD, and I
Oh
call it a
man.
superpower.
You
Is that
know,
why you take on so much and you can
you
do
know,
so much?
Here's the thing. So when I was young, I want to say when I was around 10 so there's going to be a lot of, like, I'm going to tell your audience right now, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that I've never talked about on other shows. So for those of you who follow me are like, oh, we keep hearing the same story from Alyssa. This is all brand new material. So when I was 10, so a lot of people don't know this about me, but I went to I lived in Alabama during my middle school years. For those of you who lived in Alabama and are not are just a little off shade of white, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm Cuba Pino, and so I'm Cuban Filipino. Actually, I'm Cuba Principino, so I'm Cuban, Filipino, and Irish. And so living in Alabama was very difficult. It was very difficult. And so when I was living in Alabama at the time, I was around 10 years old. I got diagnosed with ADD, and not much was known about it at the time. Because you think about it, I'm 43. So when I was 10 years old, that was a long time ago, right? That's 33 years ago. Very little was known. And God, I can't believe that's a huge number. But so there was a lot of experimental drugs that was being. So the answer to your question, Jax, is yes. I'm ADD. I don't know. I'm one of those people that feels like we're an over-medicated society. So hopefully you don't want to key my car over this comment because it's going to be very controversial. There's a lot of people in your audience that will disagree with me, and I apologize now. But you all know me. I shoot straight. I feel like we're an over-medicated society. And so as soon as I got old enough to be able to make my own decision and tell my mom and dad, I don't want to be on Ritalin anymore. So those are the Ritalin days, right? Not this new advanced stuff. And now, I don't want to treat it with medication. I feel like mind over matter. There's holistic ways and other things that we can do besides taking drugs given to us from the biotech industry. So that aside, I don't credit my ADD for all the things I do, because you bring up a good question, Jax, because this is the most common question I get on social media is, it seems like every morning I wake up and there's a new white paper being published by you, a new film, a new video, a new trailer. How do you have this much time in the day? And I don't really credit my ADD with this, or ADD, ADHD. What it is I want to live as many lifetimes as I can in a single life.
Yeah.
And I want to live this life well. So when I pass away, I want you to be able to come on Outpost Gray and say, Alissa lived well. And so that for me is like, I don't want anyone to ever say that she squandered her life. She did so much in a single lifetime. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm a fashion photographer, filmmaker, cybersecurity engineer, high school dropout, arrested at 17 for hacking a government network, close quarter combat, all of these things. And at the end of the day, even when I die, I know there's going to still be things I want to do. Right. So, yeah, like even on the film set, even though I'm the director and executive producer, I still want to learn color grading because I want to know. I still want to know video editing. I still want to know audio, and I feel like we're surrounded by so much information today. And we live in a really exciting time. We're very blessed for the fact that we have so much information around us. It's taking the time out to learn it. And you can virtually be anything you want today because of the university of internet that's out there. So anyway, I'm going to shut up at any time because I have a tendency to hijack interviews. You're like, oh my God, Alissa, I cannot get a question in. Shut up.
I love it. No, and the guests love it. You monologue away. You have such a wealth of knowledge. We think very similar. So going back to something you said and to highlight it, you were talking about and I'm ad-libbing, but you were saying you want to live your best life. You want to do as much as you can because you could die tomorrow and you want to leave that legacy. And I'm very much I think that same way. There's been individuals sometimes that I've dated and they will not get my hustle. And when they don't have to
Yeah.
hustle. I always say, you don't have to hustle like me, but support my hustle. But when people
Oh,
don't
yeah.
support it, they think, well, you're working too hard. Why do you do all of this? And sometimes I get out of balance with my work life flow, and I know that, but I'm very much, and when people ask me, why do you work so hard? I say, well, I didn't really, it took me a little bit longer to get on the learning train than most. It wasn't part of where I was in my life in my 20s. It was just, that's just my story. So now that I figured it out into my 30s and almost my 40s, it's like I also think I have stuff I need to make up on. Like now I realize how smart I am and how much I can accomplish. And so I'm so determined to make an impact, because the legacy is not only about what you leave behind, but how you impact people. And you are doing such a phenomenal job in impacting the cybersecurity space. Like, you're right. You don't even need to do an intro. People know who you are. You are impacting the space in such a positive way. And I'm completely in awe and blown away with how much you do and you accomplish, because on top of it, Alissa, you don't put out junk. You don't just, your content and what you develop is so creative, so authentic, so genuine, but it's good. Like, you have great quality. And I'm curious, with all of these ideas coming in and all the things you're doing, because I had to learn this myself, how do you prioritize what you're going to focus your time on? Because otherwise you would not get anything done, but you're well accomplished. How do you do that?
And cut. That's a great show. I think we can end on that. Thank you very much. Sorry, no, I'm just kidding. Sorry. That I know. I apologize to the audience. I know that sounded incredibly arrogant, but what's wrong with sounding a little arrogant? You know, it was like, no, I'm just kidding. A healthy amount of arrogance. So no, good question. So I'm very. What's the word I want to say? I'm very fanatical about time management. And people have heard me say this before. I have the same amount of hours in the day that Tim Cook has and the homeless woman on the street, right? So what am I going to do with my 24 hours? And so what changed my life was realizing that I had more time in the day than I actually thought I had. When you get to a point where you are scheduling your day out the day before on a sheet of paper in 30-minute blocks, and you have your plan, you realize how much time you're taking to eat lunch, or how much time you're taking to read email. And you realize you just don't, it doesn't dawn on you until you're trying to follow the tasks that you did the day before and realize, oh my God, I had no idea, how much time I'm spending, in the middle of the day to run to that favorite restaurant down the street, or, maybe I should put off going to the grocery store later. So we're all trying to balance this work-life balance. And I also realized that I was sleeping in too long. So a lot of you are going to think I'm crazy. You're going to be able to hear a pin drop in your audience right now. But so I get up at 4 a.m. And I work out and I meditate. And this is so important to all of you because, Jax, I'm sure you can attest to this. We work in a very high stress industry. And meditation, specifically transcendental meditation, for those of you who've not heard of it, go Google it. It'll change your life. You need that 30 minutes so I spend every day meditating 30 minutes and just habitualizing it, right? So to me, you need to turn these healthy things into a habit, or they won't happen. And once you habitualize it and do this, make this your routine every day, you start to be incapable of deviating from that schedule. So, I have this morning routine, then I sit down and I would recommend a great book to all of you. It's called, from Chris Bailey, called Hyperfocus. and it's a phenomenal book, and it changed my life. And then the second book I'd recommend to you is Eat the Big Frog First. And so what I do is I front load all the tasks that I don't want to do. So for example, a client sends me back white paper with red lines, and I need to accept those red lines in order for them to publish paper. I hate doing that. I just hate it. And so I'll always push those to the front of the day first and get that done, because I know that I hate that task. So that's why they tell you to work out in the morning. For those of you who've heard that before, go to the gym in the morning, because if you, by the time you get to the end of your day and you've done all these things, you're mentally exhausted. No one wants to go work out. They want to go sit down on the couch and binge watch Blue Bloods or something, and so, do the things you hate first at the beginning of your day. And that's what helps me. And so the answer, long-winded answer to your question, Jax, is I'm able to get so much done in a single day because I'm very fanatical about time management and what I'm working on and when. And at the end of the day, I've gotten up by 4 a.m. Most people are still asleep, and I'm already done with a quarter of the things I need to get done that day by the time most of the world wakes up. Right. So, there's a joke that Arnold Schwarzenegger said once, hey, people that tell him, oh, I don't know how you get all this done and work out at the gym and get the things that you need to do. How do you have time to sleep? I don't have time to sleep. And his response was, well, sleep faster, and while it was a joke, I kind of took that into like, hey, look, I'm sleeping too long. So, for me, I go to sleep by like 9. I'll let myself get to sleep by about midnight, and then I'll wake up at 4 a.m. So I know there's some people that will say, Alissa, that's not healthy, but it works for me. And I get about 4 to 5 hours of sleep every night. But I have to, like, it's just, and I nap, like when my body's telling me it's tired, I nap. At what point, we as Americans, and I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Europe, lived in Mexico, naps aren't as taboo outside the United States as they are here. Like, why is it so strange in the United States for Americans to nap in the middle of the day? Why is that lazy, right? So I take a 30-minute nap. If my body's telling me it's tired, I'll nap and then get up, and then I'll start working again, and I'm refreshed and I'm back, and I got that second wind.
Completely. Yeah, I love naps. I think that naps should be incorporated into our adult life more often than not.
Yeah.
So, and there's a quote when you were talking about routine that it resonated with me and reminded me of it was, and I typed it over here. Our routines that we are consistent with is what defines our future. So what we do on a regular basis every day
who we are
is going to get us to where we are. And you're so focused. I'm the same. I get up in the mornings, even if I'm exhausted, I get up, I work out, I do my meditation, I do my things. And it's been proven that the most successful people and high achievers, they have some sort of physical activity in the morning, and they have some sort of mindset awareness. So it doesn't have to be meditation. It can be something along those lines, but it centers you. So I'm the same. I want to move us forward though, because we're going to stay on this, and I feel like we won't get to the core of some of the questions I want. But first, Lola dropped a question in here, and I want to answer it before we pivot into emerging technology. And it's good to see you, Lola. So she's asking, how do you sit still for meditation? She's unable to sit for any activity. I have never been interested in meditation because I'm unable to sit still. And I kind of covered this. There's other things than meditation, but what are your thoughts around this?
So I feel like being able to quiet your mind, right? So one of the things that has been very therapeutic for me is learning how to control my mind and control my thoughts. I mean, that we control our brains don't control us, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I always had trouble with before meditating was I couldn't turn my brain off, right? So people be like, oh, I can't sleep because I can't turn off my brain. But when you meditate, you're forcing yourself to turn your brain off and not think for 30 minutes or 15 minutes, however long you want to start out doing it. And when you realize that you're losing focus and you're not quieting your mind, and you start thinking about that white paper or thinking about this or that, you bring yourself back. So it's your brain is a muscle, and you need to work it out just like you do your muscles in your arm, right? With being able to sit still, Lola, one of the things I would recommend is a meditation pill. So there's round meditation pills. I don't know if this is an Alissa Knight thing, but I can't kneel. Like, my feet go to sleep within seconds, and I get those pins and needles. But I don't know what's wrong with my legs. But I can't kneel or bend my in any or sit down on the floor in any position without being uncomfortable. So I bought this meditation pillow, and you buy this on Amazon for like $10. I'm sure, like something like that. But I would recommend a meditation pillow. Make sure that you're comfortable. Meditation doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't meditate because of the position, my back hurts. Then sit in a chair. Like, whatever you need to do. Meditation isn't about putting your spine in an uncomfortable position, or your tailbone, bruising your tailbone, or putting your feet to sleep. It's being able to sit still long enough to be able to quiet your mind and take control of your thoughts. And so my recommendation is get comfortable. Find a comfortable chair if that's what you need to do. Beanbag chair. I use in Germany. When I lived in Germany, I had this really comfortable beanbag chair that I would meditate in. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. A lot of people are like, oh, I can't sit Indian style because my feet fall asleep. Same with me. So don't sit Indian style. Go find that favorite chair, comfortable chair in your house, and meditate there and listen to meditation music. That's another thing I would recommend is listen to you. Go on YouTube and look for meditation music. That will help as well. But don't live your life without meditation. It's so important. I really believe that what you put out into the universe comes back to you. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. So
100%. And I've witnessed it in my own life. Where I'm at today was not where I was a few years ago. And that was a lot to do with my mindset. And because of changing my mindset, I changed my external environment, because what we believe internally, it is our external. That's how we view our external life, because it's a reflection of how we feel and what we put in.
I'm gonna leave you in the audience with one. Okay, so this is the power of meditation. All right, I really believe in this. Like, there's obviously, to me, so I'm Mahayana Buddhist, right? I'm Buddhist, and so I'm a big believer in all this. And one of the things that I can tell you is that in Germany, when I was living in Stuttgart, I would meditate, and I would put out there, I would just put out there in the universe that I was ready to sell my my latest startup. So this would have been my third company I sold. And I meditate on it, and I thought and then I don't know, like that afternoon, I got this email from a company that was interested in bringing me out there to talk about acquiring my company. It was like that whole, well, God answered my prayers kind of thing. It was just like that, only the difference was meditation. So I really strongly believe this, and then this happened with my last company. Anytime I seem to meditate on something and put out there, always seems to come back to me. So I'm a big believer in that. Try it. And even if it's not that transformative for you, it's a good idea to take 30 minutes out of your day and just separate yourself from the chaos of cybersecurity, the chaos of whatever it is you're doing.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that we're going deep into this. This is awesome. Okay, so let's pivot into some technology talk. So you've got a hacking API book coming out, and for everybody that's curious, API, what API means is application program interface. The best way that I can explain it, the easiest way of understanding it, and I call them API keys. It's a set of functions that connect two softwares to deliver information to the user. It'll allow application to access data and interact with external software components and operating systems. So APIs are an intricate part of network design. And if you can hack an API, you can get into a network. And there are a ton of emerging technologies that are coming out into our space. We'll name IoT devices, medical devices that are working off of APIs. What are your thoughts around where we are going as a technology space with the emerging technologies, quantum computing, the increase of IoT devices? Where do you see us in the next 3 to 5 years in relation to API vulnerabilities? Are we going to be more protected, or are we going to be more vulnerable?
I think it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. So for those of you who follow my research, I've published 3 reports now. One starting a few years ago when I hacked 30 financial services mobile apps and APIs in 1 week, and then subsequently came out with an mHealth report where I hacked, 30 mHealth mobile apps and APIs in less than a week, and then accessed millions of patient records. Then came out with my Fire API research where I accessed millions of patient records through vulnerable Fire APIs. What I'm finding is we're repeating the sins of the past, where 20 years ago we used to hard code passwords and keys and tokens in our apps, and we're doing that again. We're doing these with APIs. And, in addition to that, we're not authorizing. So, I hacked more recently, for those of you who haven't read the report yet, from No Name Security, called Scorched Earth. And I published that report after hacking 55 banks and cryptocurrency exchanges through their APIs. And what I found was, in some cases, we're not authenticating or authorizing, where as long as you knew the account number, you could move money in and out of the account. It's really bad out there. It's the Wild West with APIs, which is why I firmly believe in what Gartner's published and saying that APIs will be the #1 attack vector this year, if not a close second. It's a real problem. We're developing these APIs for applications and devices to talk, but we're not properly securing them. Akamai came out with a report a couple years ago that said that more than 87% of the traffic flowing across the CDNs now is API traffic, which means that human to application traffic is no longer the majority of traffic on the internet. So much to your point, Jax, it's changing a lot. Things are changing, and but what people don't understand is APIs are the plumbing of our entire financial system now, our entire healthcare system now, with recent laws with the 21st Century Cures Act. The car you're driving around in, anytime any car made after 2001 is communicating with an API.
Yep.
If for those of you who didn't see it, there's some great videos on my YouTube channel where I took remote control of law enforcement vehicles and start and stop the engine, lock and unlock the doors, and it affected every Ford on the road. And so it's a real problem. And so I think through my research, I'm highlighting that problem.
I love that. Yeah, and I'm throwing all your socials in here for anybody who wants to go check that out.
Yes,
anybody who's watching this,
subscribe to my channel and watch the videos. I'm trying to monetize it. So
oh my gosh,
that's way you can support me.
Yeah, definitely check them out. I watched, I think one of the first interviews I had heard you on that I really, the one that resonated with me was on Mike Jones, Haunted Hacker. Yeah, and you were talking about this. So that's when I started OSINTing you and going through all of your YouTube and everything. So, okay, back to the API, because let me get back over here. This is something I really want to dive into and get your perspective on, because, okay, how do I approach this? So we're getting a big push in the federal space around zero trust or data-centric approach. And I'd love to get your thoughts on how that is going to impact where we're going, because a lot of organizations still use the legacy of defense in depth. And we're starting to realize, and zero trust is not a new thing. It actually was back in the 1980s, 1990s was when it was really first created. But the technology and the understanding of the technology just hadn't matured enough to get us to where we're at today to start having use cases and actually utilizing it. But what are your thoughts about rolling us out, cybersecurity as a whole? Like, get everybody on board. Let's start using zero trust. Do you think that would be a good first step for us to start reducing our vulnerabilities and maybe getting that cat a little bit closer to the mouse? Or do you think,
So
stop
good
there.
question. Yeah, so good question. So I do get upset when people think that Forrester and the person who termed zero trust at Forrester was the first time zero trust was ever conceptualized. It couldn't be further from the truth. It basically gave a name, a marketing term to something we had been practicing or doing for a while, or should have been doing.
Mhm.
Um, the answer to your question is yes. I'm a huge proponent of zero trust. I never understood why just because someone works for us, we should inherently trust them.
Mhm.
Just because we have this intranet, anything on the internet should be inherently trusted. Um, I really believe we're going through a huge fundamental shift right now in how we design corporate networks, and the fact that a lot of companies are not coming back to the office from the pandemic. And a lot of companies are going to be remaining in a work from home environment. Wouldn't all of you agree then that if a lot of companies are getting out of their office leases and all these companies are moving to the cloud for all of the servers and services we used to VPN in for to
Mm.
access into the intranet, wouldn't you all agree that the intranet is now disappearing? Remember we started to talk about how the perimeter was disappearing.
Mhm.
Um, I would go as far to say now that the intranet is disappearing or dissolving. I just don't see the intranet lasting much longer. When one of the things that a lot of people don't know is I'm CISO for a bank as well, because I'm so bored. When I was looking for an NDR solution, my requirements from the NDR was that they have an agent, so I could monitor my remote work from home employees. And I didn't want a traditional network detection response solution that sat on our intranet because I didn't know how much longer our intranet was going to exist. We were shutting down branches, we were shutting down offices, and then even a discussion about whether or not we were even going to continue to keep our headquarters at One Rock was in question. And so I just didn't. To me, an NDR that's not agent based is legacy. I think anything that's an appliance, 1U appliance, isn't cloud native, your legacy and your window is closing, and you will most likely not be able to raise that next round of funding. I'll go as far to say that because those companies are not going to survive anymore. Nobody wants 1U pizza boxes anymore. For those of you in the audience that remember the days when CISOs and CTOs said no more agents, look what's happening now.
Yeah.
Everyone, like we're all wanting agents because all of these employees are working from home, and that's the only way for us to see what's going on their machine. So now we're getting away from these 1U and 2U pizza boxes. We're decommissioning our data centers, and we're moving to these containerized, environments and agent-based environments now where things are changing.
Yeah, and for the better. How do you think that's going to impact the API sector? You're talking about how the majority of the space, like APIs, are a big portion of us working in the cyberspace. How is us going to the zero trust environment? If an organization was going to move into that space, what would they need to consider about APIs?
So it's really interesting. So a lot of the API security vendors are clients of mine, which is weird. And I actually, and I shouldn't say it's weird. It's atypical because So first of all, a lot of you know, my wife and I just started an annual security conference called API Secure, and it's a new conference dedicated to just API security. And we had pretty much every API security vendor out there as a sponsor. They're pretty much, a lot of them are our clients, and I sit on a lot of their boards. I'm so intimately familiar with the different API security vendors and their technologies and how they approach API security that even Gartner asked me to come in and present to their analysts on the state of the API security market, which I thought was completely ironic. But because I kind of felt, shouldn't they be presenting to me? And I should have charged them. They're so expensive. But anyway,
I love
that's
that.
another show. That's another show. Great question. A company wanting to move into that space, there's different ways to approach API security, right? There's inline, there's passive, there's shift left, meaning they sit in the IDE where the developer is writing the code and yells at the developer when they're doing something insecure. There's, middle of the line, pre-deployment, then there's post-deployment, which is shield right? Shift left, shield right. And there's different approaches, and I don't think there's any one right way. You have some API threat management solutions that actually shim into the app itself. So it needs to support the code that you've written it in. So there's different approaches. I think the API security market is still in its infancy. I feel like it's still very nascent, and it's in an identity crisis. It's trying to figure itself out. But it's a very unique space, which is why I'm so connected to it. I'm very intrigued by, some of the things that these vendors are like no-name security, have approached security, not to mention a cool name, Traceable and a lot of these other vendors out there that are doing this and the way they're doing it. There isn't a wrong way. There's only just what you can't detect, right? So, start with the WASP API security top 10. Make sure that your vendor can detect those threats and detect them effectively. So my recommendation always is create a functional requirements document for your business. What do you require as functional requirements from the solution before you go out there and shop for one? Know what you need before you go out and shop for a solution. And then look at 3 of the best vendors that match it.
I agree. Yeah, it's overwhelming otherwise, and you might get something that you don't need because you didn't actually know what the scope was, and that happens a lot.
Right.
And they expect the vendors to tell them what they need, and they're always going to upsell them. We've got a couple of questions. One of these was from during the last topic we were talking about with the cloud environment. And Lola was curious. So the thought here would be hardening cloud security and personal endpoint security / monitoring.
So I think the whole concept of defense in depth is really changing and transforming. I feel like, now we're looking more at secure cloud access security broker solutions like CASB, endpoint detection and response. The things that we used to put as security controls on our intranet, on our internal network, I think are now going away. And everything is now, let's monitor and protect what's in the cloud. Let's monitor and protect the users at home. And one of the things, the reason why there's been this huge spike in attacks, specifically phishing, is because adversaries know that the home user doesn't have a security budget, right? It's not like you can go to your local Best Buy and say, can you sell me an EDR or an NDR? Like, do you have a network detection response solution I can buy for my home? A lot of people don't run enterprise grade Wi-Fi and enterprise grade security solutions at their home. They just don't. So they're a soft target. They're an easy target. A lot of people don't realize this, but yeah, you may be running an email security gateway or a web proxy, but the social networks that your employees are using at home aren't scanning files for malware that are being uploaded through their site. So you could send a file through someone through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever, and send that, or LinkedIn or any of these other social network sites, and have that file go directly to the user, and then not go through the same security controls as if it was going through your corporate network. So it's so easy to hit home users now. Because they have access to all these third-party sites that aren't scanning files being uploaded, or at least not with the same level of granularity that other corporate security controls that your company might enjoy.
What do you think users, in-home users, not individuals that are so much in the cybersecurity space, but how can they better protect themselves against getting hacked?
I think for me, the social engineering, spear phishing, it's just all getting a lot more sophisticated. The days of broken English and things not really making sense and it being obvious that it's you're being phished are slowly going away. Like, the sophistication level is huge. I think just, like look at these job interview. I don't know if you heard, but that there was that fake job interview that employee got hit with, where malware they sent them a weaponized PDF file for the job description, and set up an interview, and they had remote control of that employee's machine, right? And split tunneling VPN let them right into the corporate network. You just gotta just second guess, I guess, everything. Just be careful of what you're doing out there now. It's all the same traditional stuff. Don't use the same password on every site. Use LastPass, multi-factor authentication. Oh my God, I can't believe how just there's no MFA. No one's using MFA. It's 2022, and a lot of people still don't have MFA turned on. There's financial institutions in those 55 banks that I hacked that still don't have MFA turned on. I don't understand it. It's free with so many sites. M365 multi-factor authentication is free. It's silly to me. I would think so my recommendation is you should go onto all your sites you have logins at and make sure that your password is automatically generated by something like LastPass, and turn on MFA. And it's so easy to use MFA now. I like to tell people, if you leave your house and you forget your wallet, you might not go back anymore. But if you leave your house and you forgot your cell phone,
oh yeah, you'll go back
straight. Everyone's going back to their home.
Isn't that funny? Oh my God,
it's crazy. With Mel and I were, my wife Mel and I were out. We went out. And we realized that we left our wallets at home, and we just kept going because everywhere we went, including the restaurants, took Apple Pay.
Yeah.
And it's just, but you just don't go back home for your wallet anymore. You know.
So well, that is so true. I love Apple Pay. I love it. So Requim had a great question. How do you think sharing responsibilities, security schemes will evolve with increasing everything as a service type environments becomes the default? Ooh, good question.
Yeah. So I think, the cloud SaaS has definitely changed a lot of things. Like I said before, with shared responsibility models and everything as a service, SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, all that stuff has definitely changed things where even though, for example, at the bank, even though we had a VPN, I've continued to work there for the last 2 years now, and I don't think I've VPN'd in once. There's nothing there on the internet I need access to, right? Everything's in the cloud. Your HRMS, email. You used to have to use. Do you guys and girls remember this? Like, you couldn't check your corporate email unless you were connected to the VPN. Everything's in M365 or Google Apps now. All of this software as a service, Salesforce, your CRM. What's left of the internet? Nothing's left, and so for shared responsibility models, I think I'm hoping that organizations are starting to understand what that means. Like, I do run into companies every once in a while still where they don't understand that concept where, wait, what do you mean? I thought Amazon was patching our servers. Like, no, let me show you graphic from Google Images of what the concept of shared responsibility model. You're responsible for the operating system and up. And so I feel like people are finally starting to grasp that, like, especially with Log4j. There were a lot of organizations that thought that Azure and Amazon and Google and what GCP, that they were responsible for patching that. They're not responsible for that. It's shared responsibility model, just like Requiem was saying. But those, it's definitely changing. I think, I think shared responsibility models will continue to evolve and change. But today it's SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. It's going to be changed and new tomorrow. So
yeah, and I'm glad you brought the point up on the AWS and Azure and the patching, because I think that more people are aware of it now, but there were so many cases that use cases of coming out that the organization was becoming breached, or they realized that they were vulnerable. And then they went back and looked at their contract. And then that's when they started realizing. And then there were white papers and more articles put out around the cloud environments, and that it is shared responsibility. But it's wild to think that, I mean, organizations still are using AWS, Azure, these cloud environments, and they're not secure. But we see that that's another show. That's another show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yep.
so we've got like 7 minutes, and I want to pivot in, and I want to go back to talking about you and your big accomplishments and some of the things that you're working on right now, especially with the book that you have coming out, Hacking APIs. Can you share a little bit about this book, when it's going to come out? I'll share where they can get more information about you and your website.
Yeah, sure. So I'm working on a new book. It's basically a culmination of all of the API breaches that I've performed. A state in the United States approached me because they're rolling out a fleet of connected trains that they wanted me to hack. So everything is sort of moving, especially passenger transport vehicles are moving to sort of autonomous, not being driven by human, and communicate with APIs. So they're ubiquitous; they're everywhere, right? And to me, necessitates a book. So that's my next book I'm working on. The difference here is that I love Wiley. I love them a lot. But for us, it was like, look, it's 2022. Let's just start our own publishing company. So now Mel and I own Knight Publishing, and we're going to be publishing our next book. So it'll be published under Knight Publishing, and the plan is to release it basically near the end of the year. I think I'll be done with it by Q3, Q4 the latest. So that's the plan. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, there's all this other stuff going on with the filmmaking. But yeah, you'll be able to buy it on Amazon. And it's a field guide. It's basically going to be a field guide for all of you on hacking APIs, because we need more of you. #more, please. Like, one of the things that I found and has been a huge problem, and I identified this with our conference, was finding speakers, because there's very few people that understand APIs and understand either how to defend them or how to break them. So I want to change that narrative and help train tomorrow's future API hackers. So that's the point of this book, is to kind of get you started in understanding how to hack iOS and Android apps communicating with APIs, starting with static code analysis to dynamic code analysis to loading up Postman and Burp Suite and going after the API itself, and performing things like looking for things like broken object level authorization or BOLA attacks and broken authentication attacks, excessive data exposure, all those things in the OSP API security top 10. So there's just very few of us. And adversaries are turning their attention to APIs. I could throw a rock and hit the most senior penetration tester in the world, but as soon as they see JSON, they freak out. So I want to change that, and I'm starting with this book.
I love it. And I love your draw to help build and develop our future hackers and our future protectors. That is so amazing. So Lola asked a question. I was not aware. Are you going to be at RSA? And do you have, because I'm going to be at RSA.
I am.
I'm still finding you. When is this movie premiere? Talk more.
Okay, so I'm super excited. I'm so excited you brought this up. Okay, so our new film, Catastrophe Inc., is premiering at AMC movie theaters. It's going to be premiering at the AMC Metreon in San Francisco. It's a huge, huge honor for any filmmaker. So it's going to be, there's still some tickets left. I want to say that the last number, so there's 20 tickets left. They're free. If you go to alissaknight.co/catastrophe movie, it's where you can get tickets. If you're going to be at RSA, get tickets. It's going to be a Hollywood style premiere event. We're going to have some big people there. Dave DeWalt's going to be emceeing. There's going to be a cocktail party. AMC Movie Theaters is involved. This is so exciting. So yeah, as you mentioned, I'm a filmmaker also. So we just finished the filming of our latest film for No Name Security called Scorched Earth. It's actually based on my life. So it's based on a true story. It's the beginnings of my new Netflix series based on my life. So I've taken elements of my life and I've folded into the story arc for Scorched Earth. So actually, I'm going to be going live with the BTS footage from that probably today or tomorrow. And also the movie poster. So we're super excited, but definitely, yes, I will be at RSA. I'm going to be filming and live streaming multiple events there. Reach out to me if you want to get together for coffee or tea. Happy to meet up with you. I will be there the Monday before RSA starts, and I will be there the whole week, all the way through Friday.
Oh my God, this is exciting. We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're
Jax, are
doing
you going to be there?
Yes, I'm gonna be there.
Girl,
Yeah.
you better get on my calendar. We need to
Yes,
freaking meet
I
up.
need to get the tickets. I'm trying to find it, but also have you send me the link. I must
I'll
be
look
typing
you
it
up.
in
It's,
wrong.
yeah, alissaknight.co
Oh,
forward
that's what I'm
slash.
doing wrong.
Yeah, it's you probably put .com. So
Yep.
alissaknight.co forward slash catastrophe movie
Yep, I
is
think
the URL.
nobody watching this better grab the last ticket.
So look, here's the thing. We've limited it to 50 people. I think there's like 10 tickets left or something. If we hit 50, the plan is to actually move up to a bigger theater. And so I have a feeling, since it's only April 21st, that's what's going to end up happening. I just don't think enough people know about it. So it's only been a few weeks since we announced the tickets. But like I said, like, you got to be there.
I just registered. I'm in.
Woo!
Woo! It's gonna be
Get your
awesome.
tickets. It's gonna be
My
amazing.
birthday is June
It's a
7th.
cyber
So this
thriller.
will be like a fun celebration. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, so basically what we're doing at Night Inc. Is we're weaving these products into the story arc of short films. So they're episodic. So this is episode 1. And then so it's a client will sign up for like half a season or full season. We'll put out a casting call. So all the, there's, in this most recent, we had like 5 amazing actors. We doubled our film production for Scorched Earth, so that's even bigger. We even rented a $400,000 Lamborghini for it. Like, it's really cool. Like, it's an amazing, and
So
she
fun.
actually, I'm like, the actress who played me, I was like, God, I wish I was as beautiful as you are. Like, you're amazing. And so she killed my part, and she actually spent time with me, just learning my mannerisms, learning who I am, what I like, what I don't like. And she really just kind of brought me in the role and playing me. And it was legit. It was amazing. I'm at a really exciting point in my life right now to be making films. We film, we sometimes, because we live in Vegas, so we live so close to Hollywood. We film in Hollywood some months, we film here some months, but yeah, it's really exciting. So definitely, for all of you who are interested, keep following me.
Yeah.
We're filming a new series every month. Net Abstraction is about to launch their new series called Ransom. So we're really excited about it. There's a lot of really cool things happening in Night World.
Oh, I'm so stoked. I can't wait to meet you in person. So Wednesday, June 8th, 8:30 p.m. Okay, so final thoughts, Alissa, before I send you off to the green room to do a wrap up.
Oh man, I'd say, if you, my final thoughts are, if you can, the best way you can support me, like, how do I support Alissa Knight? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, watch the videos, because it's not just about subscriptions, it's about watch time. So watch my videos. There's some great videos on there, that you can watch with your own family. I've had a dad reach out to me yesterday that told me he was sitting down watching my videos with his daughter. So amazing. So yeah, it's the best way you can support me. Follow me on Twitter and connect with me on LinkedIn. Oh, on LinkedIn, if you guys are interested in my spreadsheet, I published my spreadsheet for my daily task sheet. So for those of you like, I want to be fanatical about time management, just like Alissa Knight, you can go on my LinkedIn post feed, and I published the template that I've been using for the last 20 years. So it's obviously evolved over the last 2 decades, but take a look at it and use it, make it yours. I think it'll help a lot of you out who are struggling to find time in the day to read that favorite book of yours or get more done. But I love
love
all
that.
of you, and I'm very grateful to all of you. I mean, we as cybersecurity influencers, content creators wouldn't be anything without our fans. So I absolutely love and adore all of you. And if you're at RSA, come by and say hi to me. I'm doing book signings at multiple games, so look for announcements. I'm signing books at 2 booths. I want to say No Name. I'm gonna be at No Name's booth, I think, as well as Blast Waves. So, and obviously you can see me at the movie premiere, so I'll be there as well.
I'm gonna get your book signed. That would be amazing.
Hell
Cool.
yeah! So come
Done.
in, and
Done.
they're all ordering boxes of my book, so I think
Okay,
you'll
good.
even be able to get my book there if you guys don't.
Okay,
But just
cool.
in case, if you want, go grab a copy on Amazon and write a book review for me on Amazon.
Of
I'd greatly
course.
appreciate it.
I know how
Yeah,
that is as an author myself. So
yeah,
I'm
for
so
sure.
stoked. This was amazing. We could have kept talking. I'll reach out to you, find some time on your calendar. Maybe we can do a live on the spot interview of like 10 to 15 minutes while you're there at RSA when we
Hell
connect. I
yeah,
know everybody would love that. You're
yeah.
amazing. You're amazing.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. I love you, Jax. You're
Yeah.
amazing too. I absolutely adore you and everything you've done and are continuing to do for women in cybersecurity. This is an important mission, and reason why I ran a non-binary and women's workshop at API Secure is because we need more women in cybersecurity and API security. So every year, actually, we're going. So if you don't mind me dropping this, we are
Yes.
to be going in person next year with API Secure. We don't know if it's going to be in New York City or Las Vegas. Stay tuned for that. We're also launching the new website and making the videos available for you to watch online for those of you who missed API Secure. So I want to say I'm going to be launching the new website tonight. It should be ready,
Ooh.
but at the latest this week.
Okay. I'll definitely put that in the show notes. You're wonderful.
Yeah,
All right.
and I hope you don't mind me dropping my own show, but I'm also doing a live stream tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific. So if you guys all want to join me, I'm doing a live stream at 5 o'clock.
I love that. Yes. All right. Definitely. Because everybody's going to go over to Simply Cyber. After Simply Cyber, go over to Alissa Knight YouTube. It's going to be a fun-filled night of cybersecurity live streams. I'll be there.
Hell yeah. Hell
Definitely.
yeah. I love you, Jax. Thank you
I
for
love you.
inviting me on as a guest.
My pleasure. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. I think we could have kept talking for another hour easily. And I'm so thrilled. Anybody that's watching this that's going to be at RSA, definitely find Alissa. Come and find me. I'm going to be hosting rooms. I'm going to be there also as a representative for Outpost Gray, but also ITSP Magazine for 2 cyber chicks. So I'll be around. It's going to be an exciting time. But what are we doing next week? And just to let you all know, as a quick reminder, we're going to be having Will G on the show next Thursday, next Thursday. So the 28th, typical time, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. And we are going to be talking about the impacts of threat. And this is deleted a little bit out of there. There you go. So the impacts of threat research within emerging technology and quantum computing. I'm excited about this because as you probably have noticed, I'm kind of a nerd on understanding where we're going with emerging technologies, because in the next 3 to 5 years, we're not going to be where we're at today, and the threatscape is going to be completely different. So I'm really looking forward to this talk. And then the week after that, I am going to have David Libby on the show. He's public relations and he's a startup expert. But why I really am excited about getting him on the show is we're going to talk about how to create an effective communication strategy for cybersecurity. This is an area where we struggle sometimes because you've got those technical experts, maybe don't have the best soft skills, and there's some miscommunications that take place within different organizations. So really looking forward to that. You guys are the best. Thank you all for showing up. If you haven't already popped over to Simply Cyber, go check out Simply Cyber with Dr. Gerald Auger. And then after that, check out Alissa Knight and her live stream that's going to be kicking off here shortly. And hey, you know what? I will see you guys on Thursday. And that concludes the show. See ya.